So, funny little story before we get started. My mom is visiting and I went to go tell her, hey mom, I'm gonna be filming for a little bit, so just to let you know. And she said, you need to go comb your hair. It looks a little too wild. And I said, Mom, I am a little wild. It'll be fine. And she said, yeah, you know what, you're right. Daddy always likes my hair best when I'm a little wild too. And there you have it. All right, let's get into this. I am excited to bring you back to our life lessons learned at the Guinness Beer Factory Tour. We are on number 5, and we only have one left after this. Very exciting conclusion, right? So let's start with our roundup of all the life lessons we've learned so far. And the first was, we need to start with a vision, because if you don't have a vision, you're gonna just kind of go wherever life throws you, right? The second part is to have infrastructure and processes so that we can have a system to make this happen, have the mindset to make it happen. The third part is team. No one ever made it anywhere without having a team around them. Doing it as a solo act is probably the hardest job that you'll ever do. And the fourth is to review and examine where you're at and make sure you're still on the path. Are there things that need to be adjusted? And that brings us to, drumroll please, number 5. We have hit one whole hand, and if you are a mom, you know that one hand is a milestone. So what is number 5? Are you ready? It is be open to change. And let's look at how that affected Arthur and Guinness first, and then we'll translate it back to us. So for Arthur, he opened that beer brewing factory back in 1749. He was doing pretty well. He was pretty successful, right? And he also had that vision that he wanted this thing to go around the world. We had a problem. The beer wouldn't last the journey to places that were too far away. And so imagine you get this Guinness, you pop it open, and it's like, it's rancid. It's not gonna really do a whole lot for his brand. So in 1801, they had the first recorded variant of the Guinness, and that was the West India Pale or Porter, the West India Porter. And what they did is they added more hops into the recipe because the hops acted as a preservative, which meant that they were able to expand further into the globe with this beer and know that when the people opened it, it would still taste good, right? And then I'm sure they had other little tweaks and changes along the way. And then around in 1950, one of their team members added nitrogen into the mix because it made a smoother, better draft experience. And for any one of you who have ever watched a Guinness come out of the draft, right, and settle in the glass, it's really cool. It's almost like that alone is worth the pay for the beer. So those were just a couple of things where Arthur had to be open. He had to be open to some change. He didn't just guard his recipe and say, no, this is the best, we're not changing anything. He knew that sometimes a little variation is what really helps you keep on track and stay with that vision. So again, let's bring it back to how does that work for us? Well, let's say we have our vision and we just get so diehard set on it has to be this vision and it has to happen a certain way. Then what ends up happening is we close ourselves off to opportunity and sometimes a better version of what our vision might be. So let me tell you a little story about a girl. It's a story about a girl who really wanted to be a famous actress. Okay, this doesn't really work too well, but so that girl was, you can guess, me. And from very early age, I wanted to be like the next movie star. And so I was in all the school plays, I got my degree in theater, and I moved down to LA, studied under a great coach, and I had the chops. I knew it's what I wanted. And after 8 years of being there, I found out I was just really banging my head against the wall because I lacked the marketing skills and I lacked the confidence at that time to really go out and pursue it. And so what happened was I thought I was letting go of the dream. I said, okay, it's time to step on. I've got to move on to something else. But it was still in my heart. What I didn't realize is I was actually going and preparing to get that sense of perseverance for something else, to get that confidence for something else, and that it was leading me, because I was open, to a variation, like a pivot on that dream. So instead of becoming that famous movie actress on the screen and creating stories that people could live through vicariously and, cry while you're there, laugh while you're there, and then go back to reality, a few years later, I found myself on a different stage. And this time it was a stage where I got to travel around the world and I got to speak to people and help them change their lives. So here I was still on a stage, still sharing with them and having them experience emotion, but the most important part was they didn't leave that fun emotion behind. They actually got to transform and take it with them and change their lives. And I found out that with that pivot, it actually led me to something that made my heart sing even more. If I thought, I didn't even think that was possible, and it was. So sometimes things show up in a different way as long as you're open to it. So there are also times when it's good to stick with what you're doing. We have those people that you have the stories of where they just had blinders on. They had white hot burning passion and they stuck to it no matter what. And they did end up doing something. However, if you look at the actions of those people, they were taking consistent actions and moving forward, right? It's like I said, when you find yourself like really hitting your head against the wall and not taking those consistent actions and making any forward progress, then that's time to look and see, how can I maybe tweak this or make some pivots? Or going back to the review and examination, what are some different ways that maybe I can go about creating this vision, and be open to those new ideas coming into you? Because sometimes you might meet someone and they say something with the smallest tweak and it just makes a complete difference. But if we have our mind shut down to any possibility, then we don't hear it. So that's it for number 5. Like I said, next week we are at number 6. It is our final life lesson learned on the Guinness Beer Factory tour. And I'm really excited about this one because I think it's something that it crosses our mind and we kind of recognize, but we don't really think on what this impact can be. So make sure you come back to watch this one. And in the meanwhile, I would love to invite you to join me on Facebook if you're not already part of the group. I am on Fun Rich Lives, Being Mom and Beyond. I am with an amazing group of women who are mamas and love and celebrate being moms, and also love and celebrate having our own identities and being beyond mom. And we are the best team. If you are looking for a team, come and join this team. You'll find these videos here. I'll post questions that create great discussion where all of these different women from around the world are giving you perspective that if you're open to, man, they can really be life-changing for you. So you can find that at facebook.com/groups/fun-rich-life. So that is it for today. Like I said, next week we will have number 6, the final. And in the meanwhile, go make it a fun, rich life. See you soon.